Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Kelvin here. So, as a guy whose channel is about learning how to invest, I'm always learning how to invest. And these past few weeks, I've been looking at cryptos because I feel that it's very fascinating and I need to go deeper. So, in this video, I want to explore Bitcoin, the first ever crypto to appear and the number one crypto in terms of market cap. I will explain what's Bitcoin, how does it work, why does it have value, and what are the misconceptions of Bitcoin. Finally, I will also share what's my investment strategy for Bitcoin. But before I start, I would greatly appreciate it if you can help to tap the like button because it will help out with the channel. In return, I will show you some men clapping their hands. Alright, let's start right now. So whenever someone hears Bitcoin for the first time, they'll be like, what's Bitcoin? But they never ask, how's Bitcoin? Just kidding, let's start by answering what is Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has several key features. First, it is a digital currency, and by that I mean it's not a physical thing like our cash. So far, all the money we know are physical, like this Happy Yusuf Ishak, or a gold of bar, or a bag of rice used in the barter system. By digital I mean it only exists in the computer. You cannot touch it, you cannot smell it, all you can do is see its price and how many Bitcoin you have on your computer screen. So that's the first feature, digital currency. Second, Bitcoin is decentralized. What is decentralized? Can eat one lah. So think of it like this. For normal cash, whenever you want to transfer money to someone else, like your sugar baby, I mean your friend, you need to log into your bank and transfer, right? Or you buy stuff and pay with credit card. The credit card belongs to a bank. Or your boss pays you salary, he sends it to your bank account. This is what you call centralized, where everything has to go through the bank. However, for Bitcoin, it is decentralized. What I mean by that is that there's not one single entity that's handling your transactions. Instead, everyone helps to keep track of the transactions. Wait, what? So there's this thing called blockchain. The name sounds very cheap, but it's actually super easy to understand. Just think of blockchain like a Google spreadsheet. In this spreadsheet, we record all the transactions. So let's say if I send $100 to Xiaoming, the spreadsheet will say Kelvin sends $100 to Xiaoming. Then if Ali sends $20 to Abu, the spreadsheet will write Ali sends $20 to Abu. You get the idea. But they don't write the whole thing now. They're just shortening it using something called cryptography. I won't talk about it here, otherwise this video will be longer than Titanic. Basically, just think of it as a way to shorten Kelvin sends $100 to Xiaoming into some super long ABC 1 to 3 word. So that's blockchain. It is a spreadsheet that keeps track of all the transactions. By the way, here's a fun fact. If you go to a website called blockchain.com, you can actually see all the transactions in real time. If I click on anyone, you can see that this guy sends this amount of money to this guy. And the whole thing is shortened to this super long ABC 1 to 3 word. Okay, here's a question. If it is decentralized, who is making sure that all the transactions are real? Like maybe if I don't have $1 million, which I don't, then I say I want to send $1 million to Xiaoming. What is preventing me from doing that? For the bank, they know, right? Because DBS knows how much money I got. If I don't have enough money, they'll be like, yamete, cannot means cannot. But for blockchain, who is doing all that validation? Basically, it's the Bitcoin miners on these computers. There's this thing called proof of work, which is basically just Bitcoin miners solving complex math problems. Once they solve the equation, they will say, this transaction, approved. But they don't rely on just one guy. They usually rely on a few guys to validate the transaction. For example, Gemini needs 3 confirmations to approve. So that's decentralization. You don't have to trust one person because everyone is keeping track of all the transactions. And everyone is working together to validate the transactions. And all of this makes the Bitcoin network very secure. So that's Bitcoin. Now, let's talk about where Bitcoin's value comes from. Like we all know, Tesla is worth $1,000 because there's a real company behind it. They are making cars, selling them and wanting big. That's why the stock is worth something. But what about Bitcoin? It's just a computer program. Why is it worth a few $10,000? Is this a bubble? This is the part where I find it's super hard to explain to other people. A while ago, I even had a friendly discussion with a viewer why Bitcoin has value. And after a while, I gave up. Heck, there are even 16% of Americans who doesn't believe that the earth is round. Yes, till now, there are still people who believe that the earth is flat. So, it's not my job to convince people who doesn't want to believe in it. But if you are willing to listen, here's my explanation. Bitcoin has value because people believe it to have value. Wow! Sounds very cheap, huh? Let me try to explain using a very simple example. Your Cai Fan costs $3. But why is it $3? Your Cai Fan is not a company, there's no employees, it's not making stuff to sell. On top of that, your Cai fan will spoil in about 2 to 3 hours if you don't eat it. So why is the Cai fan worth $3? 3 reasons. Because the Cai fan auntie says so, and she called you swiker, and you are willing to pay $3 for it. So back to my original explanation. Bitcoin has value because people believe it to have value. Same like your Cai fan, it is worth $3 because you and the Cai fan auntie believe it to be worth $3. Now, if you still don't believe me, have fun staying poor. Just kidding, just kidding. It is super hard to understand this concept, but all of us are actually using it on a day-to-day basis. See this Singapore dollar, it is just a paper. Why is it worth something? Because the government says so lor. And for Bitcoin, why is it worth something? Because everyone says so lor. So simple. Now let's try to answer the question. Why exactly do people feel that Bitcoin has value? So there are a few reasons. But I believe that the biggest reason is because institutions believe Bitcoin to have value. If you look at the Bitcoin chart, before 2018, it was worth less than $1,000. Aiya, if I buy back then, I would be rich now. There was even one guy who bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. Win liao lo. But along the way, Bitcoin started gaining the attention of institutions, and they bought Bitcoin to hedge against inflation. You have MicroStrategy, Tesla, Square, Coinbase, and even your Temasek has been buying Bitcoin quietly. Meanwhile, some companies like Microsoft, PayPal, Starbucks started accepting Bitcoin as payment. And on top of that, El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender, and possibly more countries will follow. All of these events brought Bitcoin from a few $1,000s to over $50,000 now. Because when these big institutions started accepting Bitcoin, it gave investors the confidence that Bitcoin actually has a value. Here's a second reason. Bitcoin has a fixed supply. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins available. Compare that to USD, where they can just print money forever. Let me show you something. This graph shows that more and more people are owning Bitcoin. So around 2020, there were about 30 million Bitcoin wallets, and they estimated that about 1.3% of the population owns Bitcoin. So imagine this, if more and more people believe in Bitcoin and they just buy and hold it, and if there's a limited supply of Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin price is based on supply and demand, what do you think will happen to the price? To the moon! Just kidding, I'm not saying that Bitcoin will definitely go up. What I'm saying is, if this continues, Bitcoin will definitely be worth more in the future than it is right now. Of course, there are always other stuff that will affect the Bitcoin price, like some solar flare that destroys all the Bitcoin mining machine, or an asteroid destroying the entire world, or more realistically, an even better coin than Bitcoin appears. In those scenarios, Bitcoin will lose its value. So of course, there are a lot of criticism about Bitcoin. First, people feel that since Bitcoin is decentralized, people are using it for illegal activity. But check this out, it was found that for every $1 worth of Bitcoin spent on the darknet, $800 of fiat currency is laundered. And a former CIA director reported that less than 1% of Bitcoin was used for illegal activity. And besides, with all the transactions being public and exchanges needing us to submit identification, it is very hard to do illegal activity with Bitcoin. Second, Bitcoin is bad for the environment. So remember all the Bitcoin mining machines? With Bitcoin gaining popularity, there are more and more Bitcoin transactions. Right now, Bitcoin energy usage is around 91 terawatt per hour, which is more than the entire of Finland. But with more regulations, Bitcoin mining will slowly move towards renewable energy. So those are the two main criticisms of Bitcoin. Of course, there are more, like governments will ban Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a scam. Bitcoin is volatile. But I won't talk about all of it here because I've addressed all of it in this video, which you can check it out here if you are interested. So now, should you invest in Bitcoin? Well, I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't advise you. But I will share what's my strategy. As of right now, I'm allocating about 10% of my portfolio to cryptos, where I own a bit of Bitcoin, a bit of Ethereum, a bit of Cardano, and so on. The reason I have Bitcoin in my portfolio is because I get scared of missing out, or FOMO. Yes, I do feel FOMO from time to time. But the bigger reason is because I'm betting on the future. Because I feel that our current financial system is very outdated. Fiat money was actually used since the 11th century. And it has a lot of problems, like you can't use Singapore dollar in Europe, transfers are slow and expensive, we have to rely on the bank to do transfers, and if the bank suddenly goes down for a few days, DBS, then we GG lor. With cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, we will solve all of that problem. Another reason is because I just want to diversify my portfolio. If you think about it, stocks and cryptos are totally different asset classes that don't have much correlation. So by diversifying, hopefully during a market crash, my portfolio won't all be red. But at the same time, I'm only allocating about 10% into cryptos because I'm still not fully confident in it yet. If Bitcoin goes to the moon, then stonks. But if it goes to zero, it's just 10% of my portfolio. Sure, I will cry myself to sleep for a few nights, but at least I will lose everything. So anyway, that was a quick intro to Bitcoin. Hopefully after this, you understand Bitcoin a little better. If you want to buy Bitcoin, you can check out this video on how to buy Bitcoin. But as always, like, share and subscribe as I'll be posting new videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday.